When you first started your business, did you give out titles willy-nilly? Did it come back to haunt you? Hello, my name is Daniel Hendy, and today we're going to talk about how undeserved titles help no one. So to some of you, it may sound like I'm stating the obvious. However, to others, you fell into this problem. Generally speaking, when you're young and you're starting your new business and startup and you haven't really put in the sweat and tears to earn your titles, you think a title is just a name. I've dealt with a bunch of people with titles who I don't think really deserve them. So in a few of my startups, we face the same problem. Against my will, some of my partners really insisted on giving out titles as encouragement and incentive to some department members when the department was a department of one. And later on, you realize that wasn't good for your business or for the individual who got the title. So let's start off. Do you think titles matter? And if you don't, my guess is you're not very clear on the meaning of the title. What's the difference between a supervisor, a manager, a director, a VP, a senior level chief executive? And if all those titles are just one big blur, then maybe you don't know the different responsibilities that come along with each one of those titles. So in my realm, a VP of engineering is very different than a CTO, even though in many smaller companies, whoever holds the title CTO or VP of engineering is sort of wearing both hats. But as the company grows, their roles and responsibilities are very different. VP of engineering deals with today's problems, dealing with the issues at hand today, making sure that they are developed correctly and deployed in a timely manner, where the CTO is dealing with tomorrow's problems and expansions and is thinking, how can we expand the company through technology in the future? Now, this isn't to be confused with some larger companies who just give out silly titles. Some of them Chief Happiness Officer and Coding Ninja and Marketing Black Belt. These are just made up titles. And at that point, the entity has gotten so big that these in-between titles make no difference. It's just there to make people feel better. I guess it does. But let's be honest, your business is not there yet. You don't have that kind of luxury. Everybody in your business needs to count. So for you in your business, the higher ranking the title becomes for your employees, the more they need to take off of your plate so you can focus on growth and vision for the company. It's extremely important that they take more off your plate so that you are freed up to do other things. So for example, you wouldn't hire somebody who does nothing for you. If you do nothing, I'm paying you nothing. Then if you do a small job in the company that otherwise I would have to do, I would pay you for it. Now, working more can only let you grow to a certain extent. So for example, if you're working off of commissions or bonus structure, the more you work, the more you could potentially make. And that should suffice for you as long as you're happy with that position. However, as people's career paths need to grow, they're looking for titles for endearment, to satiate their ambition, and so on. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, as your title goes up, it doesn't mean you continue doing what you're doing, just more of it. It gains new responsibilities and roles. You may still have the responsibilities you currently have, but at a bare minimum, you need to add to those responsibilities. Whether you're a team lead or a supervisor, the first notch up in your title, you need to make sure that you are influencing others. And generally speaking, you are taking more from your manager and your circle of influence grows so that you are influencing others. Even if you're not managing them directly, your circle of influence needs to grow. So here's an excuse I constantly get. Danny, well, I gave them the title as an incentive and they will grow into that title. As the company grows, they will grow with it. Now, we all hope so. However, that happens less often than you think, because they are not put in a position where they can learn from a senior manager because they've taken that role immediately. So nobody's constantly coaching them to become better. They sort of have to figure it out on their own, which doesn't really set them up for success. However, they also don't have a measuring stick to see if they're doing a good job compared to their title or not. So what happens is, if we are a company of 3 people, we just started a startup and I got the title of Director of Sales. Now, when things get tough, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to go to salary.com or some other site to look at the salaries being given to those with my title. So if I go to Director of Sales and I see how much they're making in my area, I may not be satisfied anymore, assuming that I'm actually taking the responsibilities and creating the outcomes desired by the company at the level of Director of Sales. But I don't know that. So I keep on going back to my boss, my investors, and whoever that may be, saying, I need more money because my title is 1, 2, 3. So that individual will come back to you asking for more because they're under the illusion that they are occupying this position and thus deserve that salary, when the truth of the matter, it isn't. And even if they leave and try to seek out other employment, they're constantly going to be disappointed and not understanding why they're not landing these other positions. And they're not growing in their career because they skipped important steps in learning. And you're out a resource and they're out a job. So you're now dealing with a team member who's constantly unsatisfied, and they're under the illusion that they should be getting more than what they truly deserve. I'm not saying they can't rank up there. I'm just saying they need to grow into that role and fill those shoes. And even if you keep them and you realize, I need to hire somebody above them. Now, generally, that's where your company has grown enough to where now you would hire a real director. But since you've already given that title away, now you have to go into VP level. Now I have to hire a VP and pay VP level salaries because you know the VP is not going to want the same salary as the director. And now you're exposed to doing one of 2 things, either overpaying for a real VP to come in to manage your director, or going and repeating the same mistake, getting somebody who doesn't deserve that title but is slightly better than your director, and now giving them the title of VP, and now it's a vicious cycle that goes over and over. So the next strategy that some companies employ is that don't deal with titles at all. Everybody is a software engineer, everybody is a marketer, everybody is sales executive, and that's it. Those are the titles for everybody. No senior, no junior, no level 1, 2, 3, none of that. Everybody gets the same title. Their pay is different. Now, that strategy, one, alleviates the need to constantly change titles and make up titles for middle management and so on. But what happens is you are giving employees at a certain level, let's call them software engineer, and there is no 1, 2, 3, there's no senior, junior, mid, none of that. And you're paying them more and more and more. Now, this works as a strategy to a certain extent. What do I mean? When I'm getting paid as a senior engineer, but my title is just engineer, let's call it mid, I look at other mid positions and I'm actually making a lot more money. So I'm devaluing my skills based on my title. So it looks like I have an inflated salary. I'm content, I'm happy, and then I stay where I'm at. Now that works for a certain amount of time. At a certain point, people are going to figure it out and people are going to want the title. Again, even if it's for just satisfying personal ambition, they're going to want that title. And then once one gets it, you'll realize how many other people deserve it, but your company can't absorb that many directors or that many senior management or whatever it may be. And then you just delayed your problem till later. So when you're facing this problem, you'll see the companies start coming up with specialized titles like software engineer for iOS apps, software engineer for Android apps, software engineer for web apps. They're all software engineer, but you're specializing in them. And it sort of fulfills the need a little bit for that person. However, again, you're just kicking that can down the road. And for some companies who have high churn in their employment, that's a strategy that sort of works for you, even though churn in employment has its own cost. If every year you have to cycle through your employees, there's another problem in your company that you probably should look at. We'll create a video just about that. So again, what you're doing is growing your business horizontally with these specialized titles. that will get to a breaking point where you need to then still grow your company vertically. So once you get into vertical expansion is where middle management comes in, and now you're back to figuring out who deserves a title and who doesn't. Before we continue, make sure you like and subscribe to stay up to date with our latest content. So it's extremely important to give out titles when they're deserved. So when are they deserved and when should they be given? So it starts with really understanding the needs of the company and the definition of those titles, and sitting down with every single employee and having a discussion about their career path. Every employee needs to know they can grow within your company. Otherwise, you may find out too late you're going to lose a good resource for your company because you never had that discussion with them. They just thought, I can't get a new position until my boss either leaves, gets fired, or keels over and dies. So I'm just going to go and find my new title and my new position in another company. Where had they spoken to you, you would have figured something out. So it's really important to understand what are their career goals so that you can set expectations for those goals to say, we need to hit XYZ metric in order for you to achieve this goal for you, and you lay down the path. And even if you have to have a difficult discussion with them to say there are certain metrics that are outside of your control, for example, if it's tied to revenue, I can't give you what I don't have. Once the company grows to this level, then I will give you that title and that new salary bump. So this is extremely important, and you'll be surprised how understanding most of your employees will be, knowing that it's not about whether they deserve it or not. It is about, I can't give what I don't have. And so they'll help the company, they'll help other departments to try to get there, even if it's out of selfish motivations, but they aid the company's benefit is their benefit, and that's a healthy relationship. Now, if you don't ask and they go find another offer and then tell you about it, and you say, wait, why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you bring this up? Or we would have worked something out. Now you're dealing with counter offers, and counter offers are not healthy for you or your employee. So now I have to pay even more than what I would have by just giving a simple raise or title change. And once they come back, I have to constantly think, are they going to leave again in a year, assuming that this person is going to leave? It's just a bad situation for everybody. So in the scenario that you're already in this, you've already given out the titles, it is what it is, you've already recognized that it was a mistake, but is it too late? Well, it's never too late to set expectations. So if somebody already has that title, you can at least sit with this person and set down SMART objectives. If you don't know what that is, watch this other video that I have for you. And you sit down with them and you set SMART objectives, something that has a time limit, something that's measurable, something that's objective and not subjective. And they understand these are your roles and responsibilities. You've already have the title. Now I want to be clear on what my expectations of you are. And no, as the company grows, these expectations may morph and adjust with the company growth. However, for you to maintain your title, you need to understand these are the expectations that the company has of you to maintain it. So if you really do have to have a difficult conversation, at least it's clear and they understand they felt short of expectations. And in best case scenarios, they're able to rise up to the occasion and fill those responsibilities and learn as they go along, and thus establishing a stronger, more healthy relationship between the employer and employee. Challenge time. If you faced this problem when you first started your business, I'd love to put your experience down in the comments below so we can all benefit. So as a quick recap, titles are important, and the definition of those titles are extremely important, and it's extremely important that you establish it for yourself and your business and make it clear to those holding those titles. I hope this video gave you clear and logical steps on how to establish the right titles for your team members.